The Iron Wraith's assault comes out of nowhere, screaming in from orbit as vehicles and troops drop out of the sky, establishing a bridgehead, then fortifying it, whilst other members of the warband go on a strategy of blitzkrieg, or, more commonly, mechanized attrition warfare, using aerial, vehicle, and demon forces. When the front lines are well established and all assaults by the Wraiths fail, they fortify positions and then begin anew, using a strategy of bite and hold to slowly, inexorably grind their way across a planet, using attrition warfare and blitzkrieg in equal amounts over long weeks of fear and battle. If the Wraiths occupy an area, then may the Emperor have mercy on your soul, because they will take it and dare anyone to have the gall and audacity to even attempt to drag them out of their hole, kicking and biting the whole way. Turrets, tanks, traps, false safe zones, everything the attackers can think of will be turned against them, and the only cover available will be your comrades' bodies. The water and food will be poisoned, counter-assaults will be always imminent, any weakness will be punished, paths, minefields, turrets, and traps will change seemingly overnight. Many traps will be painful, agonizing and slow, demoralizing the troops left alive in the mud and blood as they wander into some other traps which obliterate entire patrols in seconds, fresh blood being the only due as to their fate. Post-second founding, this loyalist chapter of the Iron Warriors were able to survive the heresy, being shoved into the Ultra Smurfs until 50 years of the founding, where they became their own chapter again. Then, on a warp jump, they were hot by a warp storm and sent into the Eye of Terror, whereupon they began fighting for 10,000 years, but in the warp it was 24,000 years, against chaos, demons, and whatever else was thrown at them, until the chapter master and all chapter sergeants were killed, only to be resurrected by Khorne as a mark of grudging respect for the service they did to him. They then swore the chapter to Chaos Undivided and began wreaking their revenge on the Imperium for what they see as 10,000 or 24,000 years of abandonment and death. Strength over strength, the warband has surpassed its loyalist counterparts and approaches the size of a Space Marine Legion of old, and is well on its way to reaching the exalted status of one of the traitor legions and the Red Corsairs. Traits: Brotherhood. Strangely enough, this warband shows little to no fracturing in its ranks. Its warriors fight side by side and work together to achieve victory, and stick together to survive in the unforgiving universe. The warband enjoys nothing more than hunting their enemies across the battlefield, stalking them unseen but not unheard, then striking his target at its weakest, without mercy or restraint. Death for the false Emperor and all his slaves. The warband holds more hatred than most for the false Emperor and his servants, taking every chance they get to strike at the Imperium, no matter how small the target or how weak the gain will be. For them, just killing an Imperial dog is enough, be they a mighty loyalist Space Marine or just a simple Imperial civilian. Location based on the Arctic, volcanic death world of Mona in the Britannicus sector, the Marines live in the Venator Fortress Monastery on the planet's North Pole, where they recruit the planet's population. A perfectly ordered warband with a clear system of grand companies, and squads of all different types. These renegade chapters are rare, but are among the most devastating, as one of the things they almost never have to fight is each other. Equipment and tactics. Ancient weaponry. Whether through luck or sheer age, the warband has access to many stores of potent Great Crusade or Horus Heresy era weaponry and power armor. Special vehicle. Due to their connection to the traitor legions, many warbands have vehicles not used in the Imperium for ages, or their own unique vehicle variant created through experimentation or the warping influence of chaos. This includes the vehicle class known as the Blood Charger. Land raiders covered in spikes and chain weaponry, bristling with weapons firing bolter shells which are spiked and barbed, tearing a target's insides as they course through his body, loaded with antidoting agents that force impede the target's ability to dot blood. This also includes the rare Tortured Lord Terminator armor. Armor where spikes, drills, pinwheels, chainsaws and other torturous devices land the inside of the armor as well as the outside, cutting deeper into the Terminator the more it moves, forcing it into an everlasting rage, pain and torment, whose only relief is the death of its victims. Ranged combat. The opposite of the close combat doctrine, some warbands prefer to gun down their enemies with overwhelming firepower. For these warbands, the roar of gunfire and the sight of enemies being blown apart by bolters, scorched by plasma weaponry, and charred by heat weaponry is their eternal goal in battle, aside from victory. Massed cultists. Some warbands field incredibly large numbers of chaos cultists, using them as meat shields, slave armies, or onslaught troops. They are mainly used to draw the enemy's fire, while taking as many of the enemy as they can with them, while the Chaos Space Marines handle the more important tasks and reap the greater glory of battle. The cultists are mainly used as massed waves, with one example being a large group of them forced to charge enemy positions just to make a ramp large enough for chaos vehicles and marines to move over the enemy's walls. Siege. Some warbands have historically excelled at siege tactics, or are temperamentally suited for a type of war that is a unique mix of science and murder. Breaking down defenses and venting their murderous rage on the enemy is a specialty of many warbands, though some use demons behind the scenes of the main siege. In this example, the demons, vehicles and terminators are used as battering rams, smashing into enemy lines, as shock troops before marines reinforce the spearhead. The demons and more precious engines are then pulled back and used as shock brigades whenever tough enemy positions present themselves.